Hello everybody, it has been so long since I've posted anything at all. The reason I went away was the fact that I had to work on myself, because sometimes you have to go inside your brain and try to straighten everything out. It is hard, but it's much needed self-love. In actual fact, he was procrastinating. At some point in life, every one of us has fantasized about going away to start a family somewhere remote, somewhere isolated. We fantasized about this because we saw it as a more peaceful way of life for both us and our family. Although this might be true, we often forget that life sometimes just happens. So the case I'm about to discuss will demonstrate how this fantasy may turn into a nightmarish life. Do not worry, nobody dies in this story. Spoiler alert. In our case today, a husband and a wife, the Netherland family, were living this fantasy. The husband was the carpenter and the wife was a baker. What more could they want? Their life seemed perfect. This was until they had 6 visitors, 4 men and 2 women. It was on a random Saturday, late afternoon, when this visit happened. 4 of them went into the house, 2 men and 2 women. One woman wanted to order birthday cakes from Mrs. Nivling. And before leaving, one of the men asked to use the telephone, but Mrs. Nivling said it was out of order. The following morning, on Sunday, the same group arrived at the farm, and the same 4 went into the house. They appeared as if they were from church, and one of them said so, and was indeed carrying a Bible. I trust that man with my life already. Praise the Lord. This time they were interested in furniture. See, business was booming. Mr. Nivling accepted to showing them the furniture. When they entered the storeroom, the man who carried the Bible, This can't be what? Nyishnyashni. Bring me the script. Oh. I believe this is yours. Thank you. He took out a revolver and pointed to Mr. Nivling, saying he was going to shoot him. This mother... I'm sorry. At close range, he shot and missed Mr. Nivling. He hit Mr. Nivling on the head with the butt of the revolver. Mr. Nivling fell over. He was tied up by a man and a woman and was also fiercely kicked in the ribs. The woman searched him and found a revolver, which she handed over to the man. 2 revolvers. How greedy. I got 2 phones, one for the plug and one for the load. He went. Mr. Nivling was then tied up and was unable to move at all. The group left Mr. Nivling behind, and then 2 of the men returned to him after a while. He was then dragged to the bathroom, where he was further tied with one of his own ties. How poetic. Tie. He was left in the bathroom until he was freed by one of his employees, Mr. Masilela, about 30 minutes later. That's why I keep employees around me. Whilst he was in the bathroom, he heard his wife being assaulted and commotion ensued as the goods were being carried out. During the time when Mr. Niveling remained in the storeroom, one man ordered Mrs. Niveling to open the kitchen door. She complied, fearing that her husband would be harmed. After all, she heard the gunshot. Then a woman and a man entered the house. The man slapped Mrs. Niveling whilst demanding firearms and money. They ordered her to the bedroom where they removed her personal jewelry and emptied her handbag. Whilst the man was emptying the safe, the woman was kicking and slapping Mrs. Niveling on the head, insisting that there is more money in the house as she was a baker. I guess they wanted that bread because she's a baker. Baker, bread. Baker, bread. Ah, ah. The man took the knife out of the safe and caressed Mrs. Niveling with it, and threatening to take her life that day. They shoved Mrs. Niveling into her workroom where she was thrown into the ground. They then tied her with her husband's ties. You guys understand it, right? Because tie. The woman continued assaulting her. They then left her in the workroom where she too was freed by Masilela. She then heard her husband being dragged into the bathroom and then the commotion of things being stolen. Since Masilela resided on the farm as well, he noticed people running into the house and immediately notified the police of a possible burglary at the farm. Snitch! When two police officers, Inspector Mook and Constable Edward, arrived, the group took off running. One of them was shot and he died.
Do not worry. Nobody dies in this story. Spoiler alert.
He was shot by Inspector Smook when he returned fire on them. I guess he got smoked out. In trying to evade arrest, one man shot Inspector Smook and missed. Goods that were stolen were found outside the house and returned. Mr. and Mrs. Niveling were admitted to the hospital with minor injuries, which is good news. The culprits were arrested and sentenced, then later appealed their sentences, which is a story for another day. Not today, maybe next week. Gosh.